and these minifigures. I'm stoked to see how these are going to turn out, if they work at all. So let's get to it. So I'm back home for the weekend, but currently have zero time to film a full video. Hence why I'm back here. I still wanted to make something quick though, so let's try army building. I used to film my videos on this huge granite table, which I think will work great as a platform for our upcoming armadas. Speaking of which, let's pick out our minifigures. First up is of course our clone army, which has always been a dream of mine. I decided to go with this 212th Utapau trooper because one, I really like his painted armor lines, and two, I think the orange will be really easy to edit and change later, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. To get proper lighting on each trooper, I move the figure to his next spot in line after every shot. Very similar to our US Marine Army from a couple weeks ago. Next, I went ahead and cut out each image, and now it's Canva time. Step 1, I added in our first image and placed in the front row of cutouts. Step 2 is to now change up the bright orange. I settled on this olive green color, which looks really cool, so I copied it over to the rest. The lines still looked out of place here, but some foot shadows really helped with that. Step 3 is when we copy our row to create our army, and this is definitely the most difficult and most rewarding part. I ended up making 2 uniform rows and filling in the gaps with individual lines at the end. The army is done, but there's still a lot of space in the background to add in some gunships, which are actually not Lego, believe it or not. Alright, our clone army is done. Let's move on to the next. Second on the minifigure list is this tough looking armored Urukai. I again took pictures of our first row, but this time a lot closer to eye level. So I also gave our Urukai some longer spears to add in the background, and that will hopefully add height and depth to our edit later. After all those guys were cut out, I went back into Canva, where I followed the same 3 steps as before, but also added in our background spearsmen, or spear Urukai, I guess. Which again, I think really adds a lot to this otherwise pretty shallow army. Oh yeah, lastly, I tossed in some rain. Okay, now on to army number 3. So these guys are kind of like my villain squad, which I made with the torso and legs from the old Space Police line. I also hooked them up with this sick looking rifle and got pictures of our front line. Those didn't take long to cut out. So let's move into Canva. I rinsed and repeated our 3 steps and added in a few squads behind our main soldiers. Then I changed up the background color, which you'll see very shortly. Okay, it's time for our last army, and I wanted to go out with a bang for these guys, using the Riders of Rohan. My plan is to compile our troops using spearmen, archers, and some horse riders. That required a heck ton of figure images to cut out, but they're done, and you know what that means. Isn't there supposed to be like a Canva thing? This army wasn't too hard to edit, but there was a ton of layers, and I think they really benefited from the height of the horses in back. Well, that is it. Before we get to the final reveal, I just wanted to remind you guys to consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and also consider purchasing any one of the awesome army building sets that I have in the description if you want to make your own epic squad. Now please enjoy our final product. Well, this wasn't our typical story, but still a ton of fun nonetheless. I really hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. Again, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so I can see you in the next one. Until then, see ya.